Hello everyone, and welcome to CEO Diaries. I'm happy to be back with you again. For those of you who join me regularly, this is, of course, a weekly session with me. I'm Lauren Dallas, CEO of Future Females, and this session is really just intended to take you behind the scenes of our business, Future Females. And it's intended to really remove the glamour that you see typically on social media and share with you some of the challenges, the struggles, the hurdles, the pivot points that we experience and the tough decisions I have to make behind the scenes of building, the community, the business, the platform that we are at Future Females. So I like to keep this as interactive as possible. I can see we're now live everywhere that we should be, and people are already tuning in. So welcome. Please let me know where you're tuning in from. I am, as you can see, sitting in a hotel room in a place called Scottsboro on the coast, and it is boiling, but very nice. So to encourage interaction, we, of course, always give away a prize. So the prize today is going to be a free enrollment into our Future Females program called Level Up Launch Library. This is one of my absolute favorite programs that we have ever created. It is literally a course with everything you need, all the different bundles to run an effective launch. It covers how to launch on Instagram, on LinkedIn. It gives you our Trello board for launch. It goes through a detailed process on how to secure sales and partnerships, which has been a really important strategy for us to leapfrog our growth, tapping into partners who can either fund our growth or who have audiences we can also tap into. All you need to do to win that, and I will announce the winner in about half an hour in this session, is interact with me. So I can see Nolwazi and Vanessa are tuned in with me over on LinkedIn. We have Maria over on Facebook. Welcome, welcome. Today's topic I love, and I'm excited to share because it's literally what I'm spending my week doing in any case. And that is doing reflections back on the year, looking at how do we synthesize learnings in an action-oriented and productive way? And then how do you set 2023? I know it says goals, but I'm going to start with a mantra and your intentions and work backwards to your goals. So let me get stuck in, but please do ask questions and share as we go through. There is a practice that I really love. Let me know if you also do this. It's called chord cutting. I do this actually regularly, but I make a point of blocking time to do it every December. I actually spent my time last week. I flew to Kenya and back, and I spent my 6-hour plane ride doing this chord cutting exercise. So it's not necessarily something you can do in this session with me now, but I'm going to walk you through the process of it. The premise of chord cutting is, and I love the analogy that I got from a coach called Manifestation Babe. She says, you can't fit a new car in your garage if you still have the old one parked in there. You have to sell or give away your old car before your new Porsche, Jeep, whatever your vibe is, can fit in. I love that, and I think it's such a good analogy for chord cutting. Because the thing is, when you remove something from your life, when you shed an element of stress or weight, you're actually creating a vacuum. And a vacuum can't exist like physically in the world. So then the world will fill that space with something new and better. So this is an important part of manifestation, because if you just think about what you want, but you don't have the capacity or the space for it, then like I do, you just don't get it. You fall back into that pattern of burnout, of hustle, or whatever, that's my pattern, whatever your pattern is. So how do you do chord cutting? If any of you are familiar with Marie Kondo, it's a similar practice, but theoretically as opposed to physically. So Marie Kondo is, her method relates to like physical stuff that you have. And it's very simple. You go through your wardrobe, you hold something, and if it doesn't bring you joy or positive energy, then you know that you give it away or sell it. So chord cutting is a fairly similar practice, but with different things in your life. Some people do a chord cutting exercise by literally meditating and just thinking like, what is it that I need to shed? And whatever comes up organically is the process they go through. I'm quite an analytical person. So for me, I like to go through categories. So I sit and I ask myself and I document and I go through firstly people, tasks, places, activities, and then energies or other. And I go through literally and I'm like, okay, people, who has brought me the most joy this year from my interactions and who has really drained me or taken away? And yeah, I mean, that sounds harsh, but literally just going through and thinking like that and documenting. And then I do the same for places. What places, and if you're like me, I'm an earth and water baby. So my energy, creativity is very linked to the physical space that I'm sitting in. So I'll go through and I'll be like, where did I feel most energized? For me this year, I had this run along Sydney Harbour Bridge, and it was just amazing. I conceptualized my entire book in a 20-minute run. Whereas sitting in, actually, I love most places I go, but I was living in this place in Johannesburg for a little while that really drained me because I couldn't necessarily go for like a run or be outside. So just working through and thinking about, where did you feel your absolute best self? Then doing the same with tasks or with projects, if you want to take it up a level. What type of projects are really giving you joy and which aren't? The thing about being an entrepreneur, and maybe tell me if you relate to this, a lot of us are very good starters. Actually, maybe you can let me know in the chat. Are you a good starter or a good finisher or both? Like, do you love the activation of a project, or are you someone who can see things right through till the end and you're detail oriented? I'm a starter. Serena is a finisher. So we have a beautiful combination going at Future Females. But something that I've learned as a good starter, as an activator, is that I also need to really be good at stopping, because I'll start many things and some of them will work and I'll want to take forwards, but some I just need to go, I'm going to close the chapter on that. Last year, I closed down one of my courses, even though it was working. It was just like, there's not as much love there anymore. So then I'll shut it down. And the same in December, I'm looking at what can I stop, because there's new things that I want to start in 2023. I see a lot of people saying starters. Sam, welcome. Yay, so lovely to have you tuned in. Start loads of projects, don't always complete. Candace, starter, another anonymous user, starters. And that's perfect. It's only when we don't give ourselves the grace and space to be allowed to stop. There is no shame. I wrote a blog on this a little while ago. I'll need to dig it up. There's no shame in stopping or pausing and never going back or going back. I think that's one of the things that we need to be very strict with ourselves on. Allow yourself the capacity and space to experiment, but experiments can also stop at a point in time. So that's the activities. And then the last thing is energies. And that's quite broad, but just thinking about anything else. For me in particular, this is looking at what practices are serving me and what aren't. For example, is meditation serving me? Actually, no. At the moment, like, I'm really not getting what I want out of a meditation practice solely. I'm much more into going for a run. My head is too busy. And also as a high achiever, I really want to be the best at meditation, which takes away some of the actual calmness of the practice. So that's what I mean by kind of other and the energy side of it. So this chord cutting, you go through and you list all of these. Where's your joy? Where is not your joy? And then you basically do a second cycle through and you release. And this is a spiritual and mental release. And for me, it's a beautiful experience. And you just go, okay, like if it's a person, let's say, thank you for what you brought into my life, but I'm releasing you. I'm releasing this relationship. No shame, no guilt, just a release. I need this space back for what's coming. I can see some people saying the same. Karen thinks the reminder experiments are allowed to stop. Absolutely. Vanessa, an activator at heart, but also always pretty committed. You want to follow through with things. Yeah. I also want to follow through, but I have realized that some things, maybe they're just not going to work. Or, one of the programs I shut down last December, it was just not profitable for 11 months. And we kept hustling. We and me and my partner at the time, both very positive people. So we weren't looking at the cold, hard reality of the situation. We just loved the concept and the project. So we kept giving. And it reached a point where we just said, the numbers are not lying. Let's shut this one down and do something else. But I get that, Vanessa. Sam, is this something you just say to yourself? Yeah, this is something that I just say to myself and like energetically release. Obviously, some things have, chord cutting is more practical, like actually closing down a project. There's actions that need to be followed, potentially a community that needs to be communicated to, partners that need to be on board as well. But the chord cutting practice itself is very much a personal, introspective one. Okay, so that's where I always start with my look back reflections. The second thing is then, hopefully this goes without saying, looking at your actual cold, hard business performance. I always start with the personal lens first, because for me, it's actually more important. I need to feel energized, even if it's making me money. But then going and looking at your business. So, I have a co-founder, Serena, and what we do is we get together for a couple of weeks and we spend a good few days doing our budgeting. So we, of course, have an accountant, and I hope a lot of you who are running your own businesses do as well, if it's not your forte. But what we do in this period is export our bank accounts, our PayPals, our Wise, which is what we use for transfers, our Stripe accounts. We put it into our own spreadsheet, our own internal classification in terms of category priority. And then we take a really good hard look. And we do this at least for 3 months. What are we spending on? Does it align to our priorities? Are we investing in the right things in terms of ROI? Are we investing in the right people and skill set if we're looking forwards? Are we spending too much on Uber Eats, for example, which sounds ridiculous, but that was one of our big expense line items. So we do this, and that is the start of our kind of business chord cutting. So a couple of like quite challenging things come out of this. I don't know if you have, if a lot of you have teams, but we do. So we start by looking at the roles within our organization. Are the roles contributing in the way that they need to? We've had to make some really tough decisions in the last 2 weeks with our, I guess, CEO and COO hats on, and let go freelancers, internal staff, because it's not necessarily the right fit for where the business is going next year. Really not easy decisions, but decisions that need to be made quickly, because otherwise your business is paying for things that are not driving results for you. So I think that's always the place to start. We always look at what expenses can be minimized and are not strategically aligned anymore. Secondly, we look at revenue and profit. So you've probably heard the old adage, right? It's 20% of your offering that typically drives 80% of your revenue. So what really is driving it if you get into the nitty-gritty? For us, we have a number of different revenue streams. We have subscriptions, we have one-off program sales, we have sponsorships, we have coaching, we have content partnerships, like a number of different things. So we put them all down and assess, and also look at how much time, as in if we charged the man hours for that revenue, what would the ROI be per stream? Let me know if you want me to go deeper into any of these or slow down. But so revenue stream, amount it created, input it needed in terms of cost and man hours, and just really critically assess, are we focused on the right things, and having those hard conversations. Serena and I are obviously lucky as co-founders because we get to have those conversations with each other, challenge each other, but we also invest in business coaches. So at this time of year, I always meet with my mentors and then also my strategy coach, because they're objective, right? Even if something's not working, I might, and I do, kind of feel mentally attached to it, or potentially a person within the organization. So I think it's a good time to sit with a business coach, go through your financials, go through your strategy, and look at the two and go, are they aligned or are they not? And what needs to change? Let me just pop some of these up. And Andy, yay, thanks for joining, Andy. Team must be so aligned to the vision, as you shouldn't be defending your vision and goals to your team. They should have a buy-in and thus be proactively growing the business with you. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the things that we always talk about, and I know you believe this too, and Andy, is like alignment of values and attitude is often more important than skill set when it comes to the early stages of your business. I think what can be very challenging is when someone is values and mission aligned, but the skill set is no longer a fit, or they've outgrown the business or the business has outgrown them. Either way. Yeah. People management is definitely one of the toughest parts of being a founder. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. Zasipo, let me pop this one up. Setting goals and planning to achieve what you want is easy, but action is difficult because of bad habits in our daily routine. How is your daily routine looking like in 2022? Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think I was never the person to be the early riser and stick to a daily routine. In fact, I always joke with my fiance, he's very structured, very diligent, and he loves to know, like, 6 we're doing this, 6:30. For me, I like spontaneity. That's what gives me energy. So what I do now is that I do get up at 5. Never used to be a thing. I used to be a night owl, but I've trained myself and somehow it's stuck. And then I run. And then I listen to London Grammar, which is one of my favorite bands. And that is my and I have a coffee. So it's a very simple morning routine, but it gets me into the right headspace. I'm sure a lot of you have other practices though. So if you want to pop something that really sets you up for the day into the chat on your respective channels, I'll put it up. I think the other thing that really sets me up for success is prioritization. And it sounds so simple, but taking your massive to-do list and putting it the night before into your action plan for each day is really helpful. So I do one thing before my team wakes up that can make money. So I will try to say a proposal every morning, or a funnel review, or a new ad setup, or a video, new content, new sales content. So I focus on something that can move the needle financially first, before the day and kind of the admin can get away with you. I think, a lot of you have probably heard that concept, eat the frog, which is like, do the hardest thing and the thing that can have the most impact on you first. Cool. A fellow London Grammar supporter. Amazing, Anandi. All about it. Vanessa, how much do you make your teams part of where you're going in the next year, for example? Good question. So, we love to engage our team fully. And when I say team, at Future Females, we have our HQ team, who are kind of our full-time employees. Then we have our ambassadors, who are the extended version of our HQ team. And Andy, who I'm referencing, is one of them in Pretoria. So our ambassadors are on the ground with the community, hosting events, networking, and really gathering the best feedback we could possibly get in terms of what our community needs. So we do a few things. One, every year we do a community survey, asking you guys, hopefully you've completed it for us, asking you what you need. I would suggest that every single business in the world does this activity. Just ask your audience. For a long time, if someone asked me what our strategy was at Future Females, I would say, no idea. I'm going to ask what you want, and then I'm going to make it and give it back to you. And that really is still what we do. So we do a community survey. We then do an ambassador survey, which has already gone out as well. So what are our ambassadors seeing as the needs, the themes, the gaps that we can work on in 2023? And then we do a team internal strategy session as well. We do this at the start of the year. So typically we kind of have a full team day, virtual or non-virtual, and have kind of design thinking exercises. I'll give you one that I really love. It's called Rosebud Thorn. And it's literally like, what should we keep doing? What should we stop doing? What should we keep doing that we're already doing? What should we stop doing that we're doing? And what should we start doing? So Rose is continue, Bud is start, and Thorn is stop. So we get different Post-it colors for those 3 buckets, and everyone in the team, we do kind of rapid brainstorming, documents, sticks it up on the wall, and then we present it back to each other and really challenge each other's perspectives. We then also talk about trends that are coming up, how we can capitalize on them as well, and then typically do a culture exercise too, because no matter how good the ideas are, if we're not gelling as a team, it's not going to be executed well. So I try to cover both. But that Rosebud Thorn exercise, we do consistently. I love it. Hope that helps, Vanessa. I'm curious what your team is like, if you want to just share a bit in the chat. Thanks. And Andy, I do a weekly review of the 5 things, one thing a day that I can take action on for the week. Put them in where you expect your energy to be and plan according. You're speaking my language. One of the things that I really feel passionately about is that we don't need to work 9 to 5 as entrepreneurs. And I know that's so obvious, but we typically take the routine we've learned from corporate or from a job, whatever job it was, into our own businesses. But actually, that's not most people's natural energy flow. So for me, I can get one really good thing done at around 9 a.m. By lunchtime, I have a dip. I need to go and do something fun or active, and then I can continue on. And then after dinner, I have another work period. So I love that you map that out. We actually have a free, it's called our Time Audit and Productivity Workbook. It's free. If you register for the waitlist, it's going to be emailed out to you in the next couple of weeks, actually, because this is the time for it. And what it helps you do is map your natural energy levels against your kind of weekly calendar and understand when should you do your analytical work, your admin work, when should you take a break, when should you do your creative and strategic work. So the link to get on the waitlist is in every caption on every platform that I'm on right now. Okay. Opus, do you think it's naive to say that the more important capital needed is myself than money? Firstly, that's beautifully put, and I don't think so. I always say your energy is the most important asset for your business. I know that time is the only thing we can't replenish, but even if you have time and you personally don't have energy or you're burnt out, then you're not giving to your business. So energy management and maximization is so important. I think that we should look at that like a KPI. It's something I actually track internally, is my own energy levels. Because rather work 1 hour, I read something this morning actually, it says I have 2 modes. I either do 8 hours of work in 30 minutes or I do 30 minutes of work in 8 hours. And I love that. And I think it holds so true for so many founders. And that is the power of energy management and maximization, being able to smash out your 8 hours in 30 minutes rather than sitting at your desk. So I love that, Opus. Okay, I want to switch modes slightly from looking backwards and reflecting. So we've covered the chord cutting exercise, which really is looking at a personal level at your life. What's bringing you joy? What's refilling your cup and what is emptying it? And how can you release some of the things that are draining you and obviously invite more of the things that are taking you forwards? We also spoke a bit about the importance of doing your business finances personally, assessing where can you have efficiency gains by cutting expenses and where are you really generating revenue, and obviously doing more of that. But now looking forwards, how do we start setting intentions for 2023? One of the first things I always do is set a mantra. A mantra is a single word or short phrase that is basically the theme you are setting for your year. So my theme for 2022 was deliberate. I wanted to be much more deliberate about where I was spending my time, my energy, my money, making much more conscious, thought through decisions rather than perhaps being fueled by shiny object syndrome. I'd love to know if you guys have mantras. If anyone has their mantra already set for 2023, please do let me know. The way that I set this mantra each year is very organic. I'm going to be honest. I just sit, take a break. I typically go out in nature and go to the beach. And I just think about what is it that I need in the next year that's going to serve me? My mantra for 2023 is space. I want more space in my life. And that therefore follows through to buying back my time, becoming a better delegator, building a more systems-oriented business, being more deliberate about what I take on and what I don't, in terms of personal as well as business. So for me, that's the right feeling, and that's going to be my mantra. I can see Anandi saying, be severe in what doesn't suit you and passionate in what you want to pursue. Amazing. I love that. So that's where I always start thematically. The next thing that I encourage everyone to do is when you're setting your goals, you can, of course, start by just saying, oh, I think I want to hit this goal. But the problem with that, and something that I often coach, is it lives up here. If you are thinking through your goals, then they're being decided by the masculine, ego-driven energy that's living in your head. Whereas instead, what I have experienced will serve you further is setting your goals at a heart level, feeling what your goals should be. So if anyone is not on the wait list yet, when you join, and the link's in the captions, you'll get something called the Future Map. The Future Map is our Future Females female-led approach to goal setting. And the way that it's different is that it starts by helping you discover and define your desired feelings. That is where your feminine energy lives. That is where, instead of feeling drained because you're working towards this ego-driven like hustle goal, you are working towards something that when you hit it, you know you're actually going to feel fulfilled. I'm sure, like me, you have set goals before, hit them, and been like, why did I set this goal? Maybe there's more responsibility, So this helps make sure that your goals are really authentically aligned to your true core motivators and your core values. So I'm not going to walk through the whole exercise because you can just literally click through. You'll get my free workbook. You'll get a free recording of my workshop as well that guides you through the different steps. But it starts by the desired feeling, and then you set your goal from that feeling. I'm going to give you an example of how it's different. My fiance is a chartered accountant. So as you can imagine, he's numbers oriented. And so historically in our lives, our goals, his goals predominantly, have always been money focused, and maybe you see this in some of your relationships, romantic or otherwise. He'll be like, I want to make this much per month. I want to make $20,000 a month. And I'll be like, but why? What are we going to do with that? Like, what life is that going to create for us? What impact can we have from that? So very different approaches and motivators. We went through this exercise, the Future Map, together and set our desired feelings. And what he realized is actually his core motivator is connection to family. And so he wants to make that money because he wants to be able to support his parents later in life. And so he restructured his goals to be much more about, let's actually create that family time now and invest with family now rather than later. For me, I realized that, but impact and growth is my core motivator. But to have massive growth and impact, I need to make money that I can reinvest. So I ended up with a financial goal and he ended up with a lifestyle goal. So it was interesting how this different approach completely flipped our goals on their heads. So it may not flip yours completely, but I feel like, and I've experienced that it's a very valid and aligned way of setting your intentions. So feelings first, and then the goals that are going to deliver on it. And relating this back to business, but the reason that I haven't segregated the two is because business is life and life is business. But I've had 4 failed businesses. And I think one of the things that rung true was that I was so focused on building a business and not designing my life that I would get burnt out. Whereas the way that I suggest always is design the life you want to live and then build the business that's going to deliver on it for you, your family, your community. Cool. Let me read through some of these comments. But definitely do just click through and grab the Future Map if this is resonating for you. Vanessa, at the company you're currently working for, you're going through lots of changes. Part of the new strategy office, you're curious to assess and ensure everyone is heard and involved and not just dragged along. Okay, amazing, Vanessa. I love that. Yeah, a lot of these learnings can obviously be applied inside a corporate as well. A couple of things I would suggest. One, I'm obsessed with this personality tool called Know Your Strengths. It's by Gallup. And the premise is, instead of focusing on fixing your weaknesses, how can you rather accentuate your strengths? We do this as a team at Future Females, but also when I worked in strategy consulting, we did this as our team there too. And we actually then KPI'd people against their own strengths as opposed to against a fixed scorecard, which was very fun. So you may want to consider doing something like that. And uncovering strengths, you can then map everyone in the team together so they can see how to communicate best with each other, and then kind of set goals and create task forces around that. And Nandi, you did this in your business, mapped out the vision, mapped out what we do to live that vision, and then set goals. The way we live our vision and goals in everything we do and say. I love that. I love also that you're taking it one step further, right? Because so often we set goals, and the interesting thing about goal setting, and probably the issue with most New Year's resolutions, is that the endorphins we get from setting the goal is not dissimilar physiologically to the endorphins we get when we hit the goal. So if you can just set the goal and feel amazing, where is the incentive to actually put in all of the effort to hit it? And that's why goal setting is like almost controversial now, right? Because you can set all these goals, but then if you don't back it up with an action plan and accountability, then you'll actually not hit it, because physiologically you're like, woo, that was fun, I'm done. So I love that you say, you visually represent your goals. I think the second and the easiest thing to do is just consistently remind yourself. So what I do is I put my goals on my screensaver on my phone, as you can see, or my mantra as well, so that it's a consistent reminder. My partner and I, we do a family stand-up. I mean, I'm a massive nerd, so I get off on this. We have a stand-up spreadsheet where we have our relationship and couple goals, and we literally set time in our calendars to go through them together. I think I enjoy this more than him, but it's helped us move things forwards. In the business, Future Females, we have a stand-up every single morning. So it's 15 minutes, quick check-in against KPIs and goals, and everyone has to have filled in their goal tracker beforehand. We do a quick flick through it. Everyone says their priority for the day, and then off you go. So yeah, thank you for that. It's an important next step. Does anyone have any questions, any aspects of this you would want to dig a little deeper into? Obviously, we've covered a lot, so please do just grab that free training through the link if you join the waitlist, because it'll give you a framework and a workbook to go and spend time on this. And it is something that needs time, right? Reflecting on an entire year and really feeling, firstly, removing the stress by cutting your cords so that when you set your goals for the new year, you're not being affected by the stress of the year that you've already had. Opus, since you mentioned your finance a lot, would you mind sharing a tip on what to see in a spouse to better help to reach our goal as women who do business? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am so far from a relationship coach, so I can only speak from my experience, but I've been with my fiance. Okay. I've been with him for 10 years, almost. So nearly a decade of combining finances, making investments together. He also worked at Future Females for a while. We now have a property business together. We've moved countries together. So we've been through a lot. I think, and maybe it sounds cliche, but the most important thing for us is just communication, always. We have always shared finances. So, and that for me has made things easy, because there's never been accounting between us. It's never been about who can contribute what amount and making sure it's fair and even. I think, bringing it back to vision, we have a vision of our lives, and it doesn't matter how we're going to get there. We're both going to energetically, financially give what we can at a point in time. And for a lot of you, with your partners, things come in ebbs and flows, and that agreement has allowed us to always move forwards. It's been hard, of course, but I think that mindset and commitment has been the first thing. And then the second, just communication. I mentioned that we have a property side hustle. And a couple of months ago, we were buying our next development property, and I was like, Bevan, I'm actually just exhausted. I cannot bring a development into my life right now. It's just inviting more and more stress that I don't have capacity for. And so he was like, okay, let's pause on this and reinvigorate it next year. So I think it's just important to be as honest as possible when it comes to tough decisions like that. But as I said, very much not a relationship coach by any means. And my fiance will vouch for that too. Cool. Any more questions? Otherwise, I think the last thing to do is, of course, announce the winner of our prize. For anyone, I see people are still tuning in. This live stream will be hosted as a recording on all of our social channels still. So if you did miss the start where we spoke through chord cutting, you can revisit. And I would love to hear your mantras as well as you guys get stuck into that process. Okay, cool. So I'm going to reward our winner. As a reminder, the winner is just someone who's been interacting with me through this session because it's much more fun for me. And I love hearing how you guys are going and what strategies are working for you. And the prize is free admission to our Level Up Launch Library program, a bundle that helps you basically launch, whether it's a new business or just a new product or service. So it covers Instagram launches, LinkedIn launches, launching with partnerships, launch strategy and project management, and our Trello board. So let me pop our winner up on the screen. And it is going to be Vanessa. I should have picked a smaller one so you can still see my head above your comment. Vanessa, congratulations. I really enjoyed learning more about your experience and also the application of, I think, a lot of these entrepreneurial practices into an organization and being an intrapreneur, which is something that I was as well for a very long time. So thank you for participating, and I'm excited to share this content with you and hopefully get some feedback on how you apply it as well. So congratulations. All you need to do is just send us a DM. I think you're on LinkedIn, so you can send it to me or to Future Females, and we will send you over your access straight away. Alrighty. That concludes then our CEO Diaries. I hope it's been helpful. If you're watching this as a recording, please do still add your comments and questions and just tag us and we'll be able to come back to you. Otherwise, I hope that this has given you some practices to kind of wrap up this crazy year in a neat little package so we can start the new year fresh. Hope you all have a beautiful break, and I look forward to hosting this session again soon. Bye.